Did it, looks
and
like
you
it froze on my side.
and you are live.
Okay, I'll just go. What is up, everyone? Today, I want to talk about Power of Six Principle 2, effective planning. Effective planning. This is one of my favorite topics because it's helped me tremendously on my journey and it continues to help me. And not only that, I not only learn from myself, I learn from others as I go through the journey and I go through the process. And so, with an effective plan, Pono Quest, Power of Six, we're coming together and we're here to give you amazing, amazing content and value. My first time I had to really have a plan came when I saw myself in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw. I was overweight, I was out of shape, and I wanted to make a change. And to make that change, it takes a process and it takes learning as you go through the process. It takes figuring it out. And you might not necessarily know the best way to figure it out. And one thing that I've learned in my journey is the best way to figure something out is by seeing who's done what you're looking to do. And so that's where I started is I knew I wasn't the only person who was trying to get in shape. And I knew there were other people who had tried to get in shape and not only did that, they accomplished it. So trying and accomplishing and going after that space and that place of where you want to be and what you want to be and how you want to be it. One of my coaches actually says if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get managed. So it's important to measure certain things. Now, I didn't know exactly what to measure when I first started. And as I did my research and I started understanding things a little bit better, I realized the importance behind nutrition. I realized the importance behind exercise and cardio. But I realized those things at a minute level because it starts off with okay, we all know we're supposed to eat right, but eat how much of what is right? And what do I do when I have a certain craving? And what do I do when it's getting very difficult? And what do I do when I'm feeling extra sore? And how many reps do I put in to what I'm looking to do? And how, like, it just so many how. So, an effective plan being the start of the actions that we're going to take, an effective plan, in essence, is nothing more than a system. When we can figure out how to put the system together, the plan becomes much easier. And before you figure out how to create your effective plan, you have to figure out what plan you've already habitually created yourself. Because the truth is, we're always creating our own plan or our own system. We just may not be managing it. And so once we start managing things, we get an idea of what to take out and what to add in. And so before you start with any kind of new plan or any kind of new system, figure out what you do first. Figure out the good things you do, figure out the bad things you do, and then adjust it accordingly. And that's how my whole thing started. Is I started seeing, okay, what am I eating that's bad? And I didn't realize I was eating a lot of stuff that was bad. In fact, I was eating things that I thought were good that were still bad. For instance, Wheaties, Raisin Bran, those are processed foods. But we're conditioned to believe that we're doing something healthy because an athlete's on the box, so I must be doing it right. But you can't know what you don't know. And so when you step back and you start showing up and you start putting those measurements together and you ask the right people, you ask a professional who can help you move forward, someone who has already been through that part of the journey, and they can check mark where you're doing well and they can cross out where you're not doing so well. Because life is nothing more than one big test. And a failure doesn't mean that you're a failure. Failure just means you can do something better. And when you understand that, the process becomes a lot easier. So, with having your effective plan, measure what you're doing today, figure it out, put it together. You'll be glad that you did because the next is ask, are you moving in the direction that you need to move into to become the person that you need to become? And when we see what we've been doing and where we've been spending our time, some will be very shocked and say, crap, I can't believe I've been wasting all my time doing this. Some may be right on track, but I believe the ones that are right on track already know what their plan is because they've already put the energy into making it. And some may get some insights and say, oh, I thought I was doing better than I was. But if I adjust this, this, and this, I can do even better. So let me know how that goes for you because I'm telling you, it can be an absolute game changer and a life changer too. Thank you guys.
Well, aloha, Clifford. Thank you, man. That's having an effective plan, getting there. You talk about all of these different foods and making an effective plan. Like, what do you do first? Identifying what you do first before you make any changes. And all I can do right now, I mean, the thought that went through my head was I have these friends that I'd known for years. And they were so health conscious, right?
Mhm.
They watched everything they ate. They were fit, they were healthy, they were very active with their children. They were very mindful of what they, and you know what? It never even dawned on me. And 6, 7 years later down the road, they're pretty healthy, fit. They're very conscious of what they were putting in their bodies. I hadn't been paying attention. I had to do a lot of work even to get my back to come into alignment, uh, just to be able to walk straight and be here today. So yeah, it's in front of you. You can like identify, but then you take it in on a personal level. You don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, they modeled it for me, and I loved them, and I was paying attention. But for whatever reason, I didn't have it at that time. 6 years down, 7 years ago. Say, hey, now what is it you're doing that? How do you create more awareness to for others to take action in that direction?
Yeah. So, my biggest thing that's really helped me move forward is to know that I'm a lot more unaware than I am aware. And that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I'll give a perfect example. For you, Rick, you're learning the art of knife fighting. And at one time you would have never thought like, hey, I want to go learn some knife fighting. Like, no, you have to see it first. You have to see it first, and it has to come into your vision somewhere, sometime. And so when you took on Steve as a coach and you saw like, wow, this is really, really fun. This is a process that I can really enjoy. So the best kind of aware is to know how unaware you are and to be as aware as you can be. And just say, I'm going to take in as much of life as I can. Like, what do I want to be? What do I want to become? And eventually all the parts and pieces will fall into place.
You know, what I like about you, Clifford, is you're very real about making a plan, and you don't hold back at the importance of taking action on that plan. A lot of people think that I have to create this motivation or this passion and get all my um, the energy behind me in order to take that action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I hear you talk a lot, it's not about that. It's take the action, and that's what will actually build the neurological conditioning, if you will, that will start to develop that motivation and passion. and that's, excuse me, I see that a lot with athletes. That's the mentality they have, is they make their plan and they don't worry about trying to motivate themselves or
Mm-hmm.
developing a passion. Here's my plan, just go do it. Like you say, go get the reps in. And I think people have it flipped too often. And
Yeah.
there's actually science behind that, that the development of the neurology requires that action,
Yeah.
not just motivation. It's the action that is the key. So yeah, I love that.
Well, there are moments like even in my routines, right? I got to switch my routine up. I'm okay having an effective plan and changing my routine, changing my plan, but taking action in the plan. What I mean by that, and I'm still committed to doing the exercise, to putting in the reps. So if I know it's, my yoga first thing in the morning, stretching, whatever, that part of it, the meditation aspect of it, I've got to get that in. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the putting in the reps. Now, what order? Um, because I want to say, by having that effective plan, knowing that I'm going to do that I'm committed to doing that, I become more flexible actually in that routine. How do you do that, Clifford? How do you just set it in stone and you go after it, or how do you change when you uh in a routine, like you have an effective plan for what you're going to do first thing? What does that look like first thing in the morning, having an effective plan? Give me a chunk of time of what that looks like, having an effective plan starting your day.
Yeah. So ultimately, a plan is to produce an outcome,
Hmm.
right? So the plan is to produce an outcome, and there's the plan, and then there's the plan behind the plan. I'll say. So I'll give you an example. What I like doing in life, I want to live, like truly live. And live can mean a variety of different things for different people. Living to me means showing up in life fully, right? And also reminding others that they can show up in their life fully too. Like that's really what it is. Then you can I'll even rewind back when I wanted to fight in the UFC. My plan was to fight in the UFC. And so in order to do that, I needed to get my first fight. I needed to train with a coach. I was luckily already in shape, and so I needed to maintain the shape that I had already developed and do all of these things. Now, whether I knew that was going to happen or not, I couldn't possibly predict. You can't predict it. You just have to act on the plan. And so that's what I did is I took the plan that I had and I started acting on it. And again, when we talk about the coach, I had a coach who had gotten other people into the UFC before. So I wasn't gonna take the chance on having a coach who hasn't done that and say, "Hey, I got this plan." Like, well, that's probably not a very good plan. And so when I did that and I followed through on my plan, I
I
did it. I got my first fight. It was not as easy as I anticipated because it never is. Like, just it's always harder than a person thinks it's going to be at first. And I really stamped that at first because when we act on things enough, we get better at realizing what works for us. And we become more and more effective as we go through our process. Now,
so
whether I was good or bad, it didn't matter. I just knew I had a plan and I was going to take the action. I took the action and then I adjusted, and I ended up fighting in the UFC a year later.
Somewhere along the way, as you're trying to get to that UFC, there had to be people saying, "Dude, no,
Yeah.
stop, don't, you can't do this. What are you thinking?" Right? You had an
Mhm.
effective plan. You got naysayers behind you going, "No, come on, not no." You had an effective plan. Was having an effective plan enough to get through all of the naysayer? Or was there more?
So honestly, with the power of six, you need every piece. You need every piece.
Mm,
One piece, like, hey, I got a plan. That doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything by itself. A plan is nothing by itself. Like, let's say Steve starts an amazing business at 7 figures, 8 figures. Let's go crazy. It's 8 figures. He goes, Cliff, here's the plan. Like, oh, this is awesome. Am I implementing on it? Am I having faith through the process? Because it's not going to be easy. It never is. Like, ever. But here's the thing, it's not going to be easy even if you don't do it. Like, that's what people miss. It's like, life is just hard. That's just the way that it goes. You get to choose if you're going to do it or not.
yeah, I got, how do you hang on to this dream? How do you hold that dream in the middle of all that stuff? Yeah, you said the power six, you need all six.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right? Hanging on to if you're going to hang on to that dream,
Yeah.
you need the power of six. You need all of those principles of six, and having an effective plan is just one.
Yes. Yeah. So the plan to my weight loss journey, my plan got better and better and sharpened and sharpened. And it did because of other pieces in the power of six. And they come together. It's like if you have a hand, right? Each finger by itself is strong enough to do some things, but if you put them together and create a fist, it becomes a lot more powerful. And so that's how systems work. That's why I talk about having the right system. As an entrepreneur, I wouldn't be at the level that I needed to be at without people like both you and Steve.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, nobody does this by
The
themselves.
systems of systems, the body works like that. The mind works like that. You didn't just do push-ups to train for your fights. You had to
Yeah,
do different things to be well-rounded. So that makes
yeah,
a lot of sense.
yeah,
So the one last thing that I think was important, and you said it subtly in there, was having those benchmarks, the measurements.
yeah,
And I hope people understand that that's not just for the sake of measuring, but there is a psychological factor into setting those little benchmarks. So rather than just making a big plan and it take 2 years to achieve, it can be very discouraging. But if you have those little benchmarks, it's kind of a self-motivating process. And then you don't focus so much on the plan, it's out there, or the goal. It's all about the process and read, okay, next benchmark. Okay, now focus on the next benchmark.
yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right on that one, Steve. Like if if you were training Rick, right, in knife fighting, and he wasn't a high level knife fighter, and you were telling him all the things he was messing up and screwing up and how you should be like this guy who's been doing it for 10 years, well, that would discourage anybody. I have an ironclad mindset, and that would mess with me. Like, what the heck? Like, over here,
Yeah.
I just started doing it. Like,
There,
And and
there's
and to be
please.
honest, you have to do it step by step. They can't skip step 2 and 3 to get and just jump to 4. You know,
absolutely not.
you can
Absolutely not.
accelerate it. Some people have different abilities, but you have to go through each step, just like you have to crawl as a baby. If you
Yeah.
skip the crawling phase, you're going to have to do it again later. You're going to be kind of uncoordinated in many ways.
And
It,
100%, Steve. Sorry, Rick. I just want to get this thought out real quick because this, what you just said, that's the power of six. Like,
Hmm.
the reason the plan comes in, I want you to have no excuse not to take action. like none. So I want you to think big, right? I want you to have a plan. All right, you have it. You have the plan that you need. You know what step you need to take. So go take it now. That's the passionate action piece. Go take it. I don't want to give people reasons or excuses not to. I'm actually an action taker by nature. So I'm just going to do it whether I have a plan or not.
Hmm.
And some people are like, I need to know what to do. All right, this is what you do. It's right here. Go do it.
I could totally relate to that, taking massive action. The challenge I had is I took action without the thought, without oh my gosh, like who buys a freaking mountain, dude? Who does stuff like that? I don't. I still ask myself, man, what were you thinking? But
Yeah.
the reality is all of this action and all of the planning, unless you are trusting in yourself and you have somebody inside your corner that you are trusting to, because let's face it, however, whatever your trajectory is, you're going to get there to the level that you trust yourself and to the level that you trust your team. Like
Yeah.
I can lay into a knife, into a situation to where I feel fully supported. I know I'm not going to be. I mean, let's face it. I'm training with somebody who's trained masters, and his children know more than I'll have forgotten more than I may ever know, and what is their natural ability. There is a rhythm in getting out ahead of it in life in this process, and I feel so honored to watch you and to watch Steve every day in aspects, and you hold me accountable, right? You hold me accountable. You hold me accountable in subtle ways. Sometimes it's no response, because it's not worthy of a response. Like, okay, you got to think through this. Where are we going next? Having an effective plan, being what it is you want to experience. Like, I trust you implicitly. I trust you with my life, both of you. And that is the only way for me to know that, like, that's as much as I trust myself. And I'm grateful to be able to go that deep, to let you guys steer me, to just say, okay, this is, and pay attention. Now that's not easy for people to do. It's taken me, I'm an alpha dog. All right. I mean, I carved out my own path and I know who I am, but I've allowed others to influence me. Why do I allow those to influence me? Well, because they're people that I want to emulate. There are aspects of their life. You came out yesterday talking about, your dark side. Well, it wasn't so dark, right? I mean, we're going to surround ourselves. We're going to surround ourselves with the people that see us for who we are, how we want to be in the world. And that's what you're going to find in Clifford Starks. You're going to find that level of support. He's not going to be your naysayer. He's going to be realistic, right? He's going to be realistic. He's going to help you carve out a plan. But I got to say, the most important piece is getting to that place where you trust yourself, and then you can get to a place where, and let him help you do that. Right? Let him help you do that. Let him help you get to the place where you can trust yourself enough and create that effective plan. And I just I watch you. I can't keep your pace, right? I can't keep your pace, but I watch you, and you're a guiding light. You're a beacon, and I'm grateful to be like in the wake, because just being in the company is like, it gives me a little more momentum and gives me the inspiration. So thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for showing up as you do every day, exemplary, beyond caliber. It's just, I see that in you, man. It's greatness within you, and you couldn't point to the greatness within others unless that was you already.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's 100% true. And thank you, Rick. You bring in the greatness with you regularly. Steve does the same, and I appreciate both of you. Been a fun process, and I'm excited to see what Pono Quest University is going to show up, because that's what I'm seeing. I see a university. I see a movement.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I think the point is we recognize that not all wisdom is in one school, right? But it's found in the collective, and when we see that, like, man, it just amplifies. So we've got an incredible core, and I want to stay focused on nurturing each one individually, because it is an inside job, and everyone is so important, and I want everybody to be fed, right? That's why I'm not going to relate. Steve's not going to relate. You're not going to. There's others that aren't. We're not going to resonate, but we're going to cross. We're going to cross paths and get people to the places where they're able to cultivate and create the environment for their own journey, for their own path, and get the support and the positive mindset to create that effective plan. So we're living life consciously. We're creating what we want to experience, instead of thinking about all of the things that we don't want to experience.
Yeah.
This is magic, man, and you are creating it. We cannot help but amplify in the company that we're in. It cannot help but amplify. So yeah, I'm passionate.
I love it. I love it.
You want to close us out, Clifford? I love you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I love you too. So ultimately, this is what it comes down to. Get your plan set up. And the best way to set it up is by knowing what you're doing first. Know what you're doing well, know what you're doing not so well, and know what you want to do. Know what goal you want to achieve. I know you have big goals, and I know you have big dreams. And it comes down to planning around it. Because if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get managed. There's greatness in you.